Not every movie coming in 2026 is guaranteed to live up to the hype, but these ones definitely have everyone talking already. From massive franchise finales to long-awaited adaptations and bold original swings, these are the films people keep leaving comments about, asking for a full countdown. Some of them are still wrapped in secrecy, some have shifting release dates, and a couple might surprise us as the year gets closer. But as of right now, these are the big ones. If you love staying ahead of the curve, make sure to bookmark this video, because you're going to want to check back all throughout next year as trailers drop and new details come out. Here are the top 11 biggest blockbuster movies of 2026, the ones I absolutely cannot wait to see. Number 11, Disclosure, June 12th. Disclosure is one of those movies where the mystery begins long before the trailer ever drops. Steven Spielberg hasn't stepped into original sci-fi territory like this in years, and the secrecy around the project has only amplified the hype. What we do know is simple but exciting. Spielberg co-wrote the script with David Koepp. It's centered on a brand new UFO storyline, and the cast is stacked with heavy hitters like Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Coleman Domingo, Colin Firth, and Wyatt Russell. That alone puts this film on everyone's radar. But the real intrigue comes from what we don't know. No confirmed plot, no leaked details, just whispers that Spielberg is returning to the kind of wonder meets terror sci-fi that defined his early career. As filming continues under tight wraps, Disclosure feels like a rare modern blockbuster. Unpredictable, purely original, and impossible not to be curious about. Number 10, The Bride, March 6th. The Bride is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing monster reimaginings in years, not just because of its roots in Bride of Frankenstein, but because Maggie Gyllenhaal is steering it in a completely new direction. Set in 1930s Chicago, the story follows Frankenstein's monster as he begs for a companion, leading to the creation of a resurrected woman who becomes far more than anyone expected. From what we've seen and heard so far, this version leans into romance, rebellion, and the ripple effects of bringing someone back to life in a world on the edge of change. The cast is stacked: Jessie Buckley as the bride, Christian Bale as the monster, plus Annette Bening, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Penelope Cruz. And early talk suggests big emotion, big style, and even big dance numbers. With Gyllenhaal's vision, Hildur Gudnadottir's score, and a mix of gothic weirdness and modern energy, The Bride feels like the kind of bold swing that could surprise a lot of people next year. Number 9, The Rip, January 16th.
Any ideas who might want this money?
$20 million. Where do you want to start?
The Rip is shaping up to be the kind of gritty, combustible crime thriller Joe Carnahan built his reputation on. Only this time, he has Matt Damon and Ben Affleck front and center. From what we know so far, the story drops a group of Miami cops into the middle of a massive cash seizure that instantly turns radioactive. The money doesn't just tempt criminals, it corrupts the room. Distrust spreads, lines blur, and everyone, from the squad to the outsiders circling them, starts wondering who they can actually trust. It's classic Carnahan energy: tense, sweaty, blue-collar crime storytelling with characters pushed past their limits. The cast around Damon and Affleck is stacked too: Stephen Yeun, Teyana Taylor, Sasha Calle, Catalina Sandino Moreno, Kyle Chandler, Nestor Carbonell, and Scott Adkins. With Artist Equity producing and Netflix backing it, The Rip already feels like the first big adrenaline hit of 2026. Number 8, Resident Evil, September 18th. Resident Evil might not be the loudest or biggest blockbuster on this list, but horror fans know exactly why this reboot is getting real buzz. Zach Kreger. After Barbarian blew up and Weapons became one of 2025's most talked about projects, and with Kreger producing the sleeper hit Companion, he's quietly built a reputation as one of the most exciting horror filmmakers working today. Now he's stepping into the Resident Evil universe with a completely original story that isn't retelling Leon or Jill's arcs, but instead pulling inspiration from the tone of Resident Evil 2, Nemesis, and RE4. The cast is stacked with Austin Abrams, Paul Walter Hauser, Zach Cherry, and Kaylee Rice, hinting at a more grounded, character-focused survival thriller. Filming only recently began in Prague, so details are limited. But if Kreger brings the same tension, unpredictability, and sharp filmmaking he's known for, this could become the first truly great Resident Evil movie. Number 7. Spider-Man: Brand New Day, July 31st.
We ready?
Brand New Day is shaping up to be the biggest reset Peter Parker has ever had on screen. After No Way Home, the world has forgotten who he is, and this movie finally puts Tom Holland's Spider-Man back on the streets of New York, broke, alone, and rebuilding from scratch. Destin Daniel Cretton is directing, the same guy behind Shang-Chi, and the cast is stacked. Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, John Bernthal as the Punisher, Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, Michael Mando returning as Scorpion, and Sadie Sink in a mystery role. They're calling this a fresh start, pulling inspiration from the Brand New Day comics, with street-level crime, grounded action, and a darker tone. Filming is already underway in Glasgow, and this is easily one of 2026's most watched blockbusters. Number 6. Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu, May 22nd. The Mandalorian and Grogu is the first Star Wars movie to hit theaters since the rise of Skywalker, and it's easily the most anticipated jump from Disney Plus to the big screen. Jon Favreau is directing, Dave Filoni is co-writing, and the story finally pushes Din Djarin and Grogu into a full-scale galactic crisis as the New Republic recruits them to hunt down rising Imperial warlords. Pedro Pascal returns, with a wild cast that includes Sigourney Weaver as a New Republic colonel and Jeremy Allen White as Rada the Hutt. Filming wrapped fast, and early footage teases massive practical sets, classic Star Wars adventure energy, and Grogu front and center. It's the start of a new era for Star Wars, and it's coming sooner than people think. Number 5. Avengers: Doomsday, December 18th. Doomsday is shaping up to be the biggest Marvel event since Endgame, and honestly, maybe even bigger. It marks the massive return of the Russo brothers, brings Michael Waldron and Stephen McFeely together on the script, and unites the Avengers, New Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Wakanda for the first time in one film. And of course, the headline: Robert Downey Jr. is back, not as Iron Man, but as Dr. Doom. This movie is built around Doom as the central threat, and the cast is ridiculous. Thor, Captain America, Ant-Man, Loki, Shang-Chi, Magneto, Professor X, Wolverine-adjacent mutants, and even Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. Filming wrapped with huge practical sets and global locations, and Disney is treating this like a full event. If Marvel has a comeback moment, this is the one. Number 4. The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping, November 20th. Sunrise on the Reaping might be the most ambitious Hunger Games film since Catching Fire, and fans have been waiting for this one the moment Suzanne Collins announced the novel. The movie takes us back to the 50th Hunger Games, the infamous Quarter Quell that turned Haymitch Abernathy into the broken mentor we see decades later. Directed again by Francis Lawrence, the film brings together a stacked cast: Joseph Zeta as young Haymitch, McKenna Grace as Maceley, Whitney Peake as Lenore, plus heavy hitters like Ralph Fiennes, Jesse Plemons, Elle Fanning, Glenn Close, Kieran Culkin, and Maya Hawke. Filming in Spain gives the arena a brutal, rugged look, and early teasers hint at a darker, more political story. If Lionsgate wanted a true return to form, this is it. Number 3. Project Hail Mary, March 20th.
Thanks, guys.
You're a great scientist, Dr. Grace.
Project Hail Mary looks like it could be the next, The Martian, but bigger, stranger, and way more emotional. Directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the film stars Ryan Gosling as Ryland Grace, a lone astronaut who wakes up on a spaceship with no memory, only to realize he's the last hope for Earth. What sets this apart from other sci-fi blockbusters is how faithfully it adapts Andy Weir's novel, especially the relationship between Grace and Rocky, an alien unlike anything we've seen in mainstream sci-fi. With stunning visuals from cinematographer Greg Fraser, known for Dune and The Batman, and a soaring score by Daniel Pemberton, early trailers show a film that's equal parts survival thriller, mystery, and emotional buddy story. If it sticks the landing, this could be 2026's biggest sci-fi hit. Number 2. Dune, Part 3, December 18th. Denis Villeneuve returns to finish one of the most ambitious sci-fi trilogies ever made, adapting Dune Messiah, the novel Frank Herbert wrote specifically to deconstruct the Chosen One myth. Part 3 jumps 12 years after the events of Part 2, with Paul Atreides now ruling an empire built on prophecy, power, and unintended consequences. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh, and Rebecca Ferguson return, joined by Robert Pattinson in a secretive new role that fans believe is the face-shifting antagonist, Seidel. The film promises a darker, more psychological story, as Paul confronts the brutal Holy War, spreading across the galaxy, and the personal cost of becoming a messiah. Shot on film with IMAX sequences, and scored again by Hans Zimmer, this is shaping up to be 2026's biggest cinematic event, and the emotional end of Villeneuve's historic trilogy. Number 1. The Odyssey, July 17th. Christopher Nolan returns after Oppenheimer with what might be the most ambitious film of his entire career, a full-scale, IMAX-shot adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey. Matt Damon stars as Odysseus, the war-torn king fighting his way home after the fall of Troy, crossing paths with cyclopes, sirens, gods, monsters, and the darkest corners of his own psyche. The cast is massive. Anne Hathaway as Penelope, Zendaya as Athena, Charlize Theron as Cersei, Tom Holland as Telemachus, and Robert Pattinson as one of the suitors standing between Odysseus and home. Shot across Greece, Morocco, Italy, Iceland, and Scotland, entirely on IMAX 70mm film. This is Nolan at his boldest. Mythic, brutal, beautiful. If there's one movie guaranteed to dominate 2026, it's this. And that's the lineup. 11 massive 2026 movies that are already shaping the conversation long before the year even begins. Some are franchise finales, some are bold originals, and a couple are the kind of once-in-a-decade projects that could redefine the entire blockbuster landscape. Release dates will shift, new footage will drop, surprises will pop up, but as of right now, these are the films everyone is watching.
That's a $20 million rip.
Make sure to save this video so you can come back throughout next year as trailers hit, casting updates land, and the hype goes into overdrive. Which one are you most excited for? Drop it in the comments. I always read them. And if you want more rankings, early previews, and deep dive breakdowns of upcoming movies, hit like, subscribe, and tap that bell. See you in the next one.